you like a lot of football on your podcasts, hold and give. Jack Atkins, as I look at you lovingly and jealous of your cool room in the midst of this muggy jungle I call my bedroom currently, I want you to know that Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Cristiano Ronaldo have scored in every minute of a football game and are the only two footballers in history to achieve such a feat. Both have scored in minute 1, minute 2, minute 3, minute 4, minute 5, minute 6, minute 7, minute 8, minute 9. I'll just refer to my notes now. Minute 10, 11. I'll stop doing that now, everybody. I was waiting for Jack Atkins to cut me off, but he didn't do that. But they've scored in every single minute from 1 to 90. Isn't that a fascinating fact about the football?
That is a fascinating fact. I would have assumed more would have done that. Because we don't know, like, we always have to say, since records began, I'm sure, Dixie Dean probably did it, or Eusebio, or someone like that.
After this season, well, obviously all of Erling Haaland's achievements have been compared to Dixie Dean. I refuse to accept that Dixie Dean actually existed. I think Dixie Dean is just a fragment of everyone's imagination. A mythical character, much like Hercules, who didn't actually exist, and then was just made up to make people from way back then more important than they actually were.
I mean, come on, we're only 20 seconds into this podcast and we're already kicking Everton fans while they're down.
Yeah,
your club's ultimate hero did not exist.
Exactly. You should be putting more stock in the achievements of Tony Hibbert than Dixie Dean. That's what I'm saying. At least we saw Tony Hibbert do his stuff.
Yeah, and the pitch invasion when he finally scored.
Aye, what a moment it was. Far better than anything Dixie Dean ever did. Anyway, hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Hold and Give Football podcast. We'll do a bit of a niceties bit at the start, Jack Atkins. How's your week been?
One of them, innit? Because it's been a wrestling heavy week for me.
We're getting in early with the soundboard, everybody.
Yeah, it's been a wrestling heavy week, so I was working Sunday night and I'm still tired. So
you're telling me. We've got a trip down to London this weekend and I'm working 16-hour days at the minute trying to cram everything in. I'm not losing the plot at all.
That's because you're on that Tweddle money.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that Tweddle beak there.
On a Tuesday afternoon. Oh.
Cheers, Tom Campbell. Anyway, David De Gea, this is a very interesting thing. David De Gea signed a contract extension with Manchester United, only for the club to back out of the agreed proposal. De Gea agreed to a drastic reduction on his current... We spoke about Marcus Rashford last week being a bit over the top, maybe, perhaps in the view of some, it's £300,000 a week. But David De Gea is currently, before this new contract was even proposed, $375,000 a week. In
That's
wages.
Ludicrous, isn't it? Absolutely ludicrous.
Especially for a man who's gone off the boil since about, the 14-15 David De Gea. Poos all over the current day David De Gea, for example.
Yeah, I've just had a quick look, and he's 32. I thought he was younger than that for some reason. But it's an odd one because I've been bracing myself for like the last 6 years for David De Gea to leave United. He always seemed like one of those, especially when United's fortunes on the pitch weren't as good. I thought, will they cash in on him? But I mean, they've got all the money in the world to pay him $375,000 a week. They don't need to sell him. But I don't know. I wonder what will happen going forward with this then.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. He's not going to sign a new contract and he's going to leave for free. Because as you say, many years ago, maybe around about the 14-15 season, maybe a couple of seasons after that, it seemed like all the world he was going to be Real Madrid's next number one, but he never got that move. Obviously, Thibaut Courtois got that move. He's come up later in the news section with some scandalous going on with the Belgian national team over recent times. But ever since he didn't get that move, it feels like his form, as it probably does with most players when they sign a contract of that size. You think of Mo Salah, is maybe not as an egregious an example, but he certainly had a little bit of a drop-off compared to what he was before he signed the most recent contract he's onto. When you get the bigger contracts, your form dips a bit, and David De Gea's never really picked up again.
Well, we were saying this the other week, weren't we? Because the fact that he got the Golden Gloves for the Premier League last season, but he's such a, I'm going to use the term mercurial talent. He's either pulling off absolute worldies or he's just looking like a shambles. It's hard to read him as a player, I think.
And I think a lack of competition as well isn't helping him at all. You think about the goalkeepers Man United's had in backup. I know Romero was a good goalkeeper, but he never got a sniff when David De Gea was in the question. And ever since Romero left, they've had nobody, have they?
Well, they had Dean Henderson, didn't they?
I know he had promise, obviously, but when he got into the team, I think it was during that lockdown season, wasn't it? He showed that he's not Man United standard. He's a good goalkeeper, a good Premier League goalkeeper, but not Man United standard.
When you say Man United standard, they had Roy Carroll at one point, don't forget.
And exactly, then they were slipping down to the depths of third in the league or whatever it was back then. But I will have to see what happens to David De Gea. My goodness me, David De Gea. Where do you think he ends up if he does leave? Because obviously Manchester United apparently pulled the contract off the table, don't want to sign it. So where's he going?
Well, if he wants 375 grand a week at least, then he's going to be going on a free.
It, no.
It's inevitable at this point, really, isn't it?
Which one's he going to? Al Ali? Al Ittihad? Which one? Doesn't matter.
Al Ali are getting Mendy, aren't they?
Oh, yes, they are, from Chelsea. That's another big bit of transfer news this week. So, yeah, Al Ittihad, there he goes. Could he drop down to the one that's in the second division in Saudi Arabia? Is he that bad?
I don't, if you're getting paid out the arse, would you really care that much? I mean, it's not like it's 90s Serie A, is it? It's a developing league. Let's put it kindly.
Yeah, and if you want to know more of our thoughts on the Saudi Arabian takeover of football, look at last week's podcast, episode 5, as we speak about it a hell of a lot more than we will do this week. Anyway, Tottenham are now denying receiving a bid for Harry Kane from Bayern Munich. Bayern are apparently the first club this summer to put forward a bid for Harry Kane, who turns 30 next month. 90 Minutes, this story comes from, understands it was a £60 million, €70 million package that includes add-ons, although Spurs have denied receiving a bid and are adamant that such an offer would be rejected anyway. Crucially, from their perspective, Chairman Daniel Levy does not want to sell and remains convinced he can persuade Harry Kane to stay. How can Daniel Levy do that?
I don't know if he can.
Literally sucking him off, I think, is the only way. If Daniel Levy was gobbling on Harry Kane's primary striker, I think that's the only way he could get him to stay.
I don't want to shame Daniel Levy, but if I was a multi-millionaire, top of my game footballer, and I was going to get sucked off by a middle-aged man, I think I could do better than Daniel Levy. Am
I gonna ask you for any names? I don't think I should. Right. I don't understand how Daniel Levy at this point, after what we've been through with Tottenham Hotspur in the Harry Kane era, we'll call it, coming so close to winning league titles under Pochettino, so close to European glory under Pochettino, then the drop-offs under the big names of Mourinho and Conte, and now with Ange Postecoglou coming in. Yes, it might pick up, but Harry Kane, as we say, is 30 next month. He wants to win things, we assume still. He's still not really said anything publicly, has he? So I don't see any other way it ends than Harry Kane leaving Spurs this summer. Surely.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, we and many others like us have been saying that Man United seemed probable and like a good fit.
And what are they doing, by the way?
Oh, God, who knows?
I think just quick little sidetrack there. They obviously had the little transfer saga going now with Mason Mount. They've bid 40 million and something that was turned down, 50 million and stuff it was turned down. Why? They've just said 60 million apparently, plus a little bit of add-ons and whatnot. That's how much you can have him for. Why don't they pull their fingers out their arse and get it done? Why don't they pull their fingers out their arse and get Harry Kane done? What are they doing, Jack Atkins? What are they doing?
Well, you're saying there that 90 Minutes are saying it's £60 million, €70 million for Kane. Even though he's in the final year of his contract, that seems really low.
Yeah.
I'm expecting, 90 million plus?
I guess, maybe 80, but it's Harry Kane, isn't it? I know he's 30, but the way he plays football, he's not over-reliant on pace. He's obviously plays a lot with back to goal and stuff like that, dropping deep. It's not the sort of style of play that drops off when you're 33, does it? Maybe it'll drop off when he's 36, 37, so you're still getting 3 or 4 very, very tippy-top years out of Harry Kane. So paying 80 million, I think, is, about par.
And he'll win. If he goes to Munich, he'll win everything. The change of pace in the league might actually suit him, might even prolong his career. But with United, they've had some incredible strikers over the years. They love a proper forward man, talismanic forward man, don't they? I was going to say United are on the up, but
they probably are when you look at where they were last season compared to where they finished this season. So
there's the chances he could win stuff at United, but if I was Harry Kane, I'd leave Tottenham.
Oh, big style. He's got to do it. It's how can anything be better than leaving Spurs at this point? Money's going to go up, surely, because you're moving club, and that's just a thing that seemingly happens. Obviously, chances of winning stuff's going to go up no matter where he goes. Bayern Munich didn't place Lewandowski when he left, and I guess this is them finally making their move, getting Choupo-Moting out of this front line. One of the most curious cases in football history. But again, there was the rumours about Real Madrid earlier this summer that didn't materialise, because apparently now, I mean, there was a bit of transfer news that just before we started filming here that I saw on Twitter saying that Liverpool are in for Valverde, 90 million euros, just so they can free up some transfer kitty for Mbappé coming in.
I mean, you know, I'd love Valverde, but it's not happening. That's come out of nowhere. That I don't think there's any merit to that at all.
You'd have to give it a go, though, wouldn't you? If the chance was there, if he was available. If there was
the chance there, yeah, and our owners put their hands in the pocket, definitely I'd be saying getting him in the squad. But knowing Liverpool, I don't see it happening. But I don't know. I remember the Madrid links with Kane, and I thought it doesn't fit in my head. I know I'm talking about my
it's
arse.
a straight replacement for Benzema. I think it does.
Yeah, it does. There's just something about it that I just can't picture in my head, though. You know, when you've, like we were saying about, Kane at United, you can see it. You can see him in the shirt. You can see how they play. Munich as well. But there's just something there that I can't figure out with the Madrid one.
Is it him learning Spanish?
Yeah, potentially.
Un gracias agria, por favor.
Have you ever heard Steve McManaman speak Spanish?
No, I haven't, but I imagine it's fantastic.
It's amazing. It's just fluid Spanish, but with a Scouse accent. It's great.
How do you say Fletch in Spanish? I guess that's the question.
Fletcherino.
Isn't that Brazilian? Anyway, West Ham have rejected Manchester City's first offer worth £90 million for Declan Rice. Sources have confirmed once again to 90 Minutes. I've got this news from. Arsenal have been in with 2 offers but have been turned down on both occasions. One was I think the first one was 70, the second one was 80, but West Ham are holding out for closer to 100 million, if not above 100 million. As you can see from the title of this very podcast, we'll speak more about Declan Rice as this goes on. But just going back to Liverpool there, I heard about this complete rebuild that was supposed to be happening to the midfield, and so far you've signed McAllister, which is a good start, but that's it. What's happening?
The main ones we're being linked with are Thuram, Kone, and an outside shot at Nicolo Barella.
He doesn't fancy the Prem. That's why Newcastle haven't got him.
Yeah,
apparently so. That was the talk on the tie-in.
I don't know though if he's offered the chance. No disrespect to St James's Park and Eddie Howe, but if you offered the chance to play for Jurgen Klopp under those famous Anfield, like in the Europa League, admittedly, but
get
still,
your scouse head out of your scouse arse.
No, Barrea isn't happening. Some of the fan base is starting to get a bit itchy because obviously we're not the most united behind our owners. And we had all these rumours, 250 million war chest. And then, at some point, someone was like, oh no, it's 150 million. And it was like, okay, we signed McAllister for 35 million and then said that everyone else was too expensive at about 45. And we're just like, with the Thuram and Kone stuff, the line on Twitter was, oh, we'll wait till they come back from the under-21s just in case they get injured, blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh yeah, we'll do a deal afterwards. And, they're bossing it and their valuation's going to go up. And at the same time, you just signed Thingy, didn't you?
Tonali.
Yeah, and he's away at the under-21, so deals can be done. So
yeah.
I don't know. We're preparing for the worst. I know that we've not really got much to moan at because we've had a successful few years, but we need to rebuild. And we really, really need to rebuild.
But you're even weaker than you were at the end of the last season, surely, because you've let Milner go out the midfield. The Ox isn't there. No, I guess he doesn't count the amount he's injured. Who else has left? Someone else has left. Case has left as well. I guess Carvalho you could throw in there. He's going to Leipzig, isn't he? So you're left now with, obviously, McAllister and Henderson and the young lad who I always butcher the name of.
Bacetic,
that's the one.
Yeah. Or Bacetic, that lad. Oh, Stefan.
So there's 3 to get you through an entire season.
Yeah. The main thing we need, because we were playing Bacetic as in the kind of DM role, but that's not his natural position. We need someone so we can rest Fabinho because...
of course he's there as well.
The beginning of last season, Fabinho fell off a cliff when, for a couple of seasons before, he was arguably the best DM in the world, and he was just had a stinker of a season. But towards the tail end, after he'd been rested a bit and he was coming back, we were seeing that out. He's just knackered. He's still got something there, but we need to, like I said, start planning. There's even been some people saying we need to start planning for life without Salah as well, because he's getting up there in years now. It's like if we're going to start properly building into this next phase, we need to be looking all over the pitch.
You know what? Liverpool could do far worse than James Maddison. And James Maddison is apparently in advanced talks with Tottenham Hotspur over a move from Leicester City in the summer. Newcastle have been linked with James Maddison ever since last summer when we first made an approach for him. But apparently, well, not even apparently, Newcastle's valuation of Maddison is different to Leicester's. Leicester, even though he's got 1 year left in his contract, wants somewhere close to 60 million. Newcastle want to play lower than that. Spurs, apparently there is a bit of a difference in their valuation compared to Leicester's 60 million valuation. But Sky Sports are saying there's a cautious optimism a deal can be struck. That would be a very good sign. I tell you what, the one thing, because I'm not too miffed about Newcastle potentially missing out on Maddison, because first and foremost, I don't think he properly fits into how Eddie Howe plays football, because the way Eddie Howe has a setup with the three combative midfielders in the middle, surely Maddison doesn't fit in that, so surely he'd be playing out on one of the two wings, which I don't think is his strongest position. I think you need to have him right in the middle of the pitch, just conducting things the way he does. But also his injury record's not as good as I think many people think it is. He gets injured from time to time.
Do you reckon that's, I was going to say, a case of him being overplayed at Leicester, maybe? Because he was the heart and soul, Jamie Vardy aside, wasn't he? But,
yeah.
To circle back to it, you're saying, how does Daniel Levy keep Kane at Tottenham? Could this be one of the pieces? He's like, look, we'll rebuild, we'll get Maddison in. Or is this them spending the Kane money before they've got it?
Yeah. Oh, what a lovely little tease that was there, Jack Atkins. I tell you what, he's a very, very good player. There's no getting away from that. And he's obviously going to be an asset to anyone who signs him. The higher up the league he's playing as well, I think the better he'll be. Obviously surrounded by better players than he was last season at Leicester when everyone down tools, it would seem. But yeah, it looked like Spurs is going to get James Maddison across North London. In more transfer news, Kai Havertz, the first picture of him in his new Arsenal kit was leaked on Twitter last night as we're sat here on the 27th of June, which is a Tuesday. Apparently he's completed his medical over the weekend there while Glastonbury was going on. Maybe it could have taken place there. Who knows? I don't know why I said that, but there we go. He will be finalising his move from Chelsea in the coming days. Apparently Arsenal are going to pay Chelsea somewhere in the region of £65 million for the 23-year-old. I thought he was a lot older than that, but it turns out he's only 23. He's about 21 when he scored that Champions League final winning goal.
Yeah, I like Kai Havertz. I know he went a bit off the boil last season for Chelsea, but who didn't? But it seemed like the vocal elements of the fan base that I saw online had really turned on him. But 65 million for a proven 23-year-old, like you said, Champions League winning goal, etc. I think it's a good move.
I think
for him personally as well, at least he doesn't have to move house. So it's lovely, isn't it?
Just get the tube now, Connie, just across the way. But for me, Havertz, it's clear that Arteta must have like a proper plan for him, because again, last season he wasn't that impressive in a Chelsea team that was faltering from every single position imaginable. But playing him as a centre forward, I think, is going to be a thing we don't see anymore, because he's just not one. Chelsea, the second half of the season, especially when I was watching, I was live streaming their game away at Old Trafford, and he missed a couple of gilt-edged chances in the first half, especially. I remember one coming across and he sort of shanked it wide. I think maybe there was a header 6 yards out, straight in the middle of the goal, that he didn't put in the back of the net. He's clearly one of those, like the three behind the front man, I think, and I think Arteta's got a clear plan for him to be one of those people.
I think he's a confidence man as well. I can imagine if you're feeling, down on your luck and a new look Chelsea where all these names are coming and, like you're saying, the fans getting on your back and not finishing your chances, and an Arsenal that, came close to win the league come in saying, we want you, come in. We've got a load of lovely lads here. It seems like a squad full of, nice fellas and Granit Xhaka.
He's leaving though, so it's fine. That's been rectified.
Yeah, that's true. If Havertz hits the ground running, I think this could be a monumental season for him. But that's a bit of a cop-out answer for me, because you can say that about any player, but it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to, like you were saying, this new team, different system, less turmoil on the pitch, less turmoil off the pitch potentially. You never know.
He'll have plenty of time to do so, though, because Sky in Germany are reporting that he's going to sign a 5-year deal at the Emirates Stadium. He's such a silky boy. You know, this is a weird comparison. He's such a silky boy. He's got an air of the Berbatovs about him in his touch and his style of play for me.
Yeah, I can see what you mean there, yeah.
Oh, he's such a silky boy. We'll just leave that there to linger. Just a lovely, lovely... silky boy. Right, Barcelona have completed the signing of Ilkay Gundogan from Manchester City this week. The 32-year-old moves to the Camp Nou on a 2-year deal. Barcelona have the option to extend by a further 12 months. I can't believe it's ended this way, but it has.
I saw some people question it, saying that it seems like a bit of an odd fit for Barcelona, but, you know, if Xavi says, oh, he'll work in our midfield, you're not going to say he's wrong, are you, really?
It's Xavi at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. And he's won everything, absolutely everything, the bastard. And I like Gundogan as well. He's one of those that even when I'm, you know, just really hating City, I'm just like, he's just a really good player. 32, that's a good move, and I suppose he's not moving to the Saudi league, but whatever.
Yeah, it's strange how City would let him go, and he was so crucial to everything they did last season. But again, it might be one of those cases of he's completed football at Manchester City now. So now what else is there to achieve? He might as well go and try it somewhere else. And I'm glad he's not gone to Saudi Arabia, because this next one is absolutely terrifying, because Bernardo Silva has apparently been offered a monster contract to join the Saudi Pro League. Just in case you listen on Spotify or Acast, Jack Atkins has his hat off his head and is celebrating like the Reds have just scored a goal. The contract proposal could earn the 28-year-old up to £80 million a year. Silva would prefer to stay in Europe at this stage of his career, as he should do at 28 years of age, for goodness sake, and would like to join Barcelona. Paris Saint-Germain may hold the cards because of their superior financial position. Apparently, wants a new challenge after, you know, again completing football basically with Manchester City, but he's still under contract with Manchester City until 2025. Get Liverpool in for him, you know.
Yeah, great. Yeah. He loves us.
He's a fantastic player, though. But again, it's strange.
Oh, he's a great player, absolutely great player. Yeah.
This cycle this Manchester City team's going through now, with the likes of Gundogan and Silva, two first names on the team sheet types from last season. They're both good, apparently. Yeah,
but like we were saying earlier, if they can just go, well, thanks, we're just going to go buy Declan Rice. It doesn't really matter, does it? But yeah, like you were saying, Bernardo Silva, these links to the Saudi League haven't gone away, because there's been murmurings about it, and usually if it's going to get shut down, it gets shut down. So I do think there is. I don't know. I don't know if his agent has said something to the Saudi League that's given him like an inkling of hope, because otherwise this would have just been buried, wouldn't it? And you're saying join Barcelona. We were saying about Gundogan being, you know, not the most perfect fit for Barcelona. Bernardo Silva and that Barca team would be, he'd run riot, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Going both ways. He goes both ways very well.
Yeah. This is, I mean, it's hot and sweaty in your bedroom.
Yeah, more ways than one.
Now.
His defensive work is arguably better than his attacking work for me. I love seeing a winger track back, and he tracks back like few other I've seen in this game of ours called football.
Well, like we say, if he wasn't such an arsehole, he would fit in well at Liverpool, because we like, you know, our players to press, and we'd like them to drop back and help out in defence when they can. But
is that the former home of Luis Suarez, that team of not arseholes you're on about there?
Well, it's not arseholes under Klopp.
All right, fair.
Yeah, we've had plenty of arseholes, and now the only arsehole, well, Robertson's a bit of an arsehole, but like the only out and out arsehole we've got is Jurgen Klopp, and I love him.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of bona fide arseholes in that Liverpool team, and no one's springing to mind.
Yeah, because it's one of the things that's kind of spoken about is when he turned up and he was seeing like what the attitudes were like of people, he'll just if they're not going to knuckle down, he'll just ship them out. Mamadou Sakho, I think, was one of them. Like for pre-season training, he was, you know, a bit late and trying to play it off like, it's just pre-season, and Klopp was like, nah, that's not going to fly. So, yeah, we've got a harmonious locker room. I mean, they were saying about, you know, Sadio Mane and Salah, there was a professional rivalry. It was like, oh no, they're all right. Then Mane goes to Germany and he starts punching his teammates. So.
That was a good story, that. I don't know if it was a good story. I can't remember what the catalyst of the punch was.
It was Leroy Sané, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if they were just... Because he didn't take on it Bayern Munich like we all expected him to. I don't know if it was just frustrations boiling over. I don't know. It's just... But yeah, as we were saying, no arseholes.
Yeah, but it is weird what Manchester City are doing, just to go back to them on this Liverpool football podcast,
There we go,
apparently.
yeah.
Manchester City are replacing the likes of Gundogan and his attacking prowess, and apparently Bernardo Silva with his attacking prowess, with the likes of, apparently, Declan Rice, and the likes of, officially, nearly, your man Kovacic from Chelsea, who is not an attacking player in the slightest from what we've seen in the Premier League so far.
Yeah, and then the strong rumours are that they're going to bring Gvardiol in to that defence. So, yeah, great. Yeah.
Why not, eh? Why not?
Yeah, he's good, isn't he?
I mean, they've got Calvin Phillips as well there in the midfield, but yeah, they're replacing more attacking players with not attacking players this summer, which I find incredibly strange.
Do you think it's just because they realise that if Haaland stays fit, he just scores for fun? So they're like, do you know what? Let's kind of shore up the back. Let's tighten that up, and I think they're going to try and go invincible. That's the only thing they've got left to break, isn't it?
It is.
And the quad.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, quad. That just makes me think of quad vods. Up the vodka. Anyway, back to more serious football news. Chelsea owners Blue Co have secured a deal to become the new shareholders of French club RC Strasbourg, who finished 15th in a recently concluded League One season. Under the terms of the deal, Strasbourg president Mark Keller, who played for West Ham, Portsmouth and Blackburn between 1998 and 2002, will remain in his position. Blue Co is the parent company created by Todd Bowley and Clearlake Capital that bought Chelsea last summer. The move to acquire Strasbourg has already drawn similarities with the City Football Group and their multi-club stable that includes clubs in Spain, France and the United States, Australia, Japan, China, India, Uruguay and more. Why not name them more, whoever I've copy and paste this story from? What about and the more? Where are they?
Bobby Moore, I don't know.
Luke Moore. Go on, back to you. Let's have a game of Moore.
Roger Moore.
No, you can't go non-football. Spoil sport. Anyway, so Chelsea are apparently going to do a Manchester City now and acquire lots and lots of teams around the world. And this has led to UEFA, who have had a meeting to discuss ruling on multi-club models like Chelsea's potentially and Manchester City's. They've had a 2-day meeting this week to discuss potentially seismic rulings on multi-club ownership in football. The model is being pursued by leading clubs across Europe, with Chelsea the latest to announce, as I just said, by French League Club Strasbourg. UEFA's club financial control body, the CFCB, the CFCB, relaxes the rules. It will give Premier League owners confidence to press ahead with buying other clubs across the continent. Equally, a tightening of the existing regulations could anger supporters of clubs tonight European football due to their involvement in multi-club networks. UEFA President Alexander Seferin has hinted in the past that the governing body could soften its stance, and its sources believe rules governing the system will be altered at the start of the 24-25 season. This is all very big boy stuff. First and foremost, Jack Atkins, what's your thoughts on multi-club ownership?
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm probably wrong because it's me. I'm sure under Abramovich, Chelsea had a kind of feeder system, didn't they?
In Holland,
though. Yeah, it was usually though way lower leagues though.
Was it Vitesse? I think Vitesse is coming
Vitesse
to my mind.
Arnhem, yeah. That sounds about right, yeah. But obviously Strasbourg, they're not, they're not much of a force in France. They, knocked Liverpool out the UEFA Cup about 25 years ago. But this is bringing it up to a different level, like you're saying, compared to like Vitesse. Will this rule in, obviously, it's slightly different, but like the Red Bull group, because they have a couple of teams, don't they?
Salzburg.
Salzburg.
Your German one. New York.
Yeah, Leipzig, Salzburg, New York. Yeah, I don't think anything's going to change, though, because I just don't have any faith in UEFA. Money talks at the end of the day, and they'll just be like, oh, well, it's growing the game, I think this is going to be a model which could take off, where you've got, whereas, back in the day, you'd have your under 16s, under 21s main squad. I think it'll just be like a continental model of that instead. We've got like, oh, well, you play in Belgium for a season, Holland for a season, then we'll bring you up to the Premier League or bring you up to Serie A. I would not be surprised if it went that way. In terms of Chelsea buying Strasbourg, that's, like you're saying, unless UEFA put a firm no on it, it's just going to keep clubs and ownerships are going to take the piss and push the luck as much as possible, aren't they?
Yep, and my Newcastle United are one of those because we've been looking at clubs. There was one in Belgium I've forgotten the name of. There was one in France I've forgotten the name of. But we're looking to do something similar, and I think you're absolutely spot on. I think it is just going to be a thing that grows and grows and grows until governance is brought in for issues like this. I think what it's going to take is UEFA and all of the governing bodies around the world to come together and put one rule in place for stuff like this for everyone to abide to, and for stuff like the Saudi Arabians just spending money on their teams. I know it's weird for a Newcastle fan to be saying this because Newcastle's now got an advantage compared to other teams that they play in the same league as, but there's FFP Newcastle's got to deal with, whereas these Saudi teams can go and offer 80 million a season to Bernardo Silva apparently, and there's no ramifications for that, even though it's clearly not a sustainable model. So every governing body, when it comes to club ownership and it comes to the buying of players, I think they all need to come together and put one rule in place that everyone has to abide to on certain issues. Like they can all do, you know what I mean? All the big clubs can do this certain thing around the world, no matter where they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, from a business perspective, you can understand why they do it. It's a good idea. You know, if you're taking away the actual ramifications of it, you're taking away the morality in sports away from it. It's a good idea to be like, right, if we can pool resources and, you know, have a talent pool which is exclusive to us to skate around FFP, it's a brilliant idea. But like you're saying, it's the kind of the conflict of interest and stuff like that. Say somehow one of these, say, it was a Strasbourg. I was going to say Bordeaux then. Say Strasbourg, for example, say if they climbed up the French league and got into Europe and were drawn against Chelsea, then what would happen? Like, I know it's
all the players would be cup tied, obviously.
Yeah, it's a hypothetical, obviously, but surely that would bring the game into disrepute. And I think perhaps we won't see anything done until that unlikely scenario happens.
Yeah, that's a very interesting.
People just have to make noise. I think that's the thing about it. But will they? I don't have much hope.
Here's my noises. Hopefully you're for listen to those noises and take action.
Gianni Infantino out the window. I know he's FIFA, isn't he?
I know what you mean. I don't even know who took over from Platini. Platini was UEFA, wasn't he?
Is Platini still in jail? Did he actually get jailed?
I think he did, didn't he? Oh, what a shame. Anyway, Thibaut Courtois' situation with the Belgian national team has been taken over the airwaves over the past week. Belgian manager Domenico Tedesco, a household name here in the UK, has accused Thibaut Courtois of leaving camp because he was not named the captain. Courtois has denied such claims, but teammate Yannick Carrasco has stuck his nose in and put Thibaut Courtois under many buses. Indeed, Carrasco has admitted the team are disappointed with Thibaut Courtois' decision to leave camp over the captaincy row. Apparently, Thibaut Courtois left the camp before their Euro 2024 qualifier against Estonia on Tuesday, with the manager later claiming that the Real Madrid goalkeeper had walked away in frustration after not being named the captain. Those, as I said there, the claims were rejected by Courtois, who pointed to an injury concern as the reason for leaving. But Carrasco has now spoken and revealed what the players have that the players have sided with their manager. What he did say about this one, Carrasco, was, "We've more or less understood what happened." He was speaking to RBTF in this interview. We have had a meeting with a coach who was clear with us. We, the older players, haven't yet had the opportunity to speak with Thibaut, but we're disappointed with his reaction. At the end of the day, he's a key member of the team, one of the three captains. An armband is just a detail. You have to show that you're a leader and a captain with your own personality. He chose to leave, whether he was embarrassed or not, we don't know. But one of the reasons he left was also the armband. Now that's clear. Oh!
If this is true, he needs to grow up.
He does, doesn't
he? Yeah, it's got all the hallmarks of, remember, Yaya Touré's birthday. It's got...
No, that's a bad one. For people to forget it was his birthday and give him a crappy cake is a bit of a late. That was the story, wasn't it? That they forgot his birthday and then a cake was brought around too late.
Yeah, but I think people were digging at the same time and seeing that, you know, other players at other big teams were getting like cars for the birthdays, and he was like, he's got a car and I've got a cake. And I was like, I'm sure it was a cake baked with love, yeah.
Maybe it was one of those. Remember those adverts for Skoda back in the day when it was a cake but it was a car?
Oh God, yeah, and the jelly headlight. Oh yeah.
Oh, lovely. I've just got an article here from the Evening News in Manchester. I was so pissed how Yaya Touré's infamous birthday cake saga damaged the end of his Manchester City career. This was written in January of this year. It's been over 12 years since the infamous birthday cake saga, which nearly led to Yaya Touré's early Manchester City departure. You talk for a bit and I'll find the bit of the story that's pertinent to what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's a weird thing captaincies, isn't it? Especially like you're saying, if he was going into a World Cup or something like that and was the out and out star of the team, and they were just like, or if promises were made to him, you could understand him being a bit frustrated. But like they said, there, an armband is a detail. You've got to be there you've got to be a leader on and off the pitch, Ross. I'm actually quite happy that, like I said, knowing very little about the situation, but I'm glad that the team sided with the manager, and they've just gone like, nah, we can't have him being a baby here while we're going. Was it for the qualifiers?
Yeah.
They were just like, we can't have him being a baby when we need him for the qualifiers. Let's all kind of knuckle down and see what's what.
I found the bit of the story. Yaya Touré's agent, who was called Dimitri, or back then was called Dimitri Saluk, has claimed that City had not appropriately marked the midfield linchpin's birthday, sparking wild speculation over a missing birthday cake. Despite the ridiculous scenario, it's seriously threatened to stay at the Etihad, and I can't be asked to read any more of that because it's a ridiculous situation to begin with.
12 years ago, though. Dead soon.
I know, yeah. You know what I'm
Madness.
thinking about this one, though?
Go on.
Oh, I don't think it did it. Did you hear that or not?
Is that someone shouting twat?
It was. It was meant to be coming through the system thingy, but I don't think it's coming through. No, me soundboard's let me down. Oh, no. Oh, that's a shame. Anyway, Manchester United saw their 2022. Oh my God. This new season's home shirt leaked on Saturday, 3 days ahead of its official launch. When rapper H, are you familiar with this rapping man?
No, because I am... In my head, it's still 1994 when it comes to hip hop.
I tell you what, though, I am not on board at all with that. This newfangled genre of music. That's your H's and your Stormzy's represent. I can't get on board with it. It's not catchy enough for me.
Grime,
yeah,
just grime in general.
Yeah.
I like a bit of grime.
Do you like a bit of grime? Who's your favourite?
I like a bit of grime.
Cameron?
I like I like Jamie.
Jamie Grime.
No, just an artist called Jamie, not like people with the surname Grimes.
Trying to think.
Frank Grimes from The Simpsons. Go for it, yeah.
He's a great man. Anyway, H was wearing this shirt on the Glastonbury stage on Saturday. Manchester United had to respond to this because everyone kicked off. They said, our new home kit was seen for the first time on Saturday when lifelong United fan and Manchester native H wore it proudly during his acclaimed performance on Glastonbury's legendary pyramid stage. Well, that's what it read, yeah. And they've had to just release teaser videos off the back of that because everyone thought it was a real situation where H had somehow commandeered a football shirt and then took it to the stage before they were ready to announce what was going on.
So it just seems like it's a PR stunt that's gone a bit sideways because they've not had everything in order.
What?
He did it!
Hey!
Hey! That was worth it. 7 minutes too late.
What did he do?
Oh, not Jim White. I don't listen to Jim White. Sorry, a video picked up there. But yes, Manchester United have today launched their new, as we're sat here on Tuesday, have launched a new kit. And I saw a story earlier as well saying that they had to close the club shop because of the protests. Glazers out, don't support Adidas, this, that and the other. These protests never work. I know this is a Newcastle fan boycotting the Sports Direct, boycotting the stadium. They're not going to go anywhere until a rich oligarch or a nation state will come in with more money than they can say no to. So just don't bother. Just buy your shirts and shut up.
I've just had to Google the shirt now because I didn't watch much Glastonbury, but I don't like that Team Viewer logo, but it seems all right.
Do you want to do a tier list for the new kits, Jarkins, over Zoom?
If we can find a way to make it work, let's do it.
Yeah.
Have they all been released now? All the home kits,
I think
anyway?
they must have been. It's nearly July.
Yeah, but football doesn't end now. It's a constant cycle. Who knows what year it is anymore?
I know. It is 2023. And it feels weird to say football never ends and then go on to our next story, but that's the way this cookie has particularly crumbled. Craig Brown, who was, I think, known to myself and Jarkins, is just Scotland's manager of the 90s. He passed away this week. At the age of 82, he took charge of 71 games in the Scottish national team between 1993 and 2001, famously leading Scotland to a 1998 World Cup 2 years after taking on England at Euro 96. He also had spells in charge of Preston, Motherwell and Aberdeen. He got a CBE in 1999. A statement read about his passing. Craig died peacefully today after a short illness in the University Hospital in Ayr, surrounded by his close family members. Again, it's one of those situations where I think you learn more about the man when just people are speaking about him in the press this week after the news came out. And it's just everyone's saying he's such a lovely fella. That's all I really know about Craig Brown. Scotland manager in the 90s, lovely fella. I guess that's a nice way to go out, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If that's the overriding impression that you gave, then you've done something right. We've talked in recent weeks about that kind of the so-called glory years for Scotland. Obviously, they had was it Archie Gemmill in the 70s and stuff like that. But that 90s team when you had like McCoist and Strachan, Hendry, McAllister. Vivid memories of the 96 and 98 squads. I remember when they got drawn with Brazil in World Cup 98. I was like, oh.
They all dyed their hairs as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's another face from our childhood that's gone now.
We're getting old, aren't we?
I'm getting older than you.
Not by that much, only 4 years or something, isn't it? I'm 31 in August.
35 in November. I'll be going to the Saudi League if I was a footballer at this.
So would I be if the offer was right. Anyway, we move on to our highlight of the weekend because Jack Atkins took the one I was going to say. We had a little discussion before the podcasting on the air. I'll let you go first this week.
I'll just put it succinctly. Lad on a bike scoring a header.
That's all you need to know.
It's when we decided, that we were going to do a podcast, and when we realised that we were launching it at the end of the season, we were like, it's going to be quiet a few weeks, and it's apart from transfer this and that, there's not been much going on, but just a video of someone pinging in a lovely cross. Lad doesn't even break his stride on his bike, just nods it right in the bag. Oh, beautiful.
It is beautiful. We'll play the sound effect because we can get away with that. Here's what it sounds like, everybody. There's a song on that video. Let's not play that one. It was a fantastic header on a fantastic cross. Because he's not even crossed it. Whoever's crossed it in, they're not even on the pitch. They're about 7 miles out, and this ball has been pinged in wonderfully. As you say, the bike doesn't break stride. If bikes have strides, the wheels never have to slow down.
His pedaling stride.
Liquid football, quite literally, on a bicycle, not a motorcycle. That's the highlight of the week. We don't care what's going on. I guess that's the second week in a row now where a fan thing or just a not footballer thing has been the highlight of the week. After that, insert MLS team that I've forgotten. Fan getting into the centre spot.
Yeah, I mean, like we're saying, it's the end of the season. It's going to be slim pickings most weeks now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. That's why I'm going to speak about William P. Foley, the owner of Bournemouth Football Club, because he was on TalkSport this week, and as we say, slim pickings for highlight of the week. But he did a really refreshing open interview on TalkSport this week when he spoke about why he got rid of Gary O'Neill, why he brought in the new manager, who I always butcher the name of, so I won't even bother saying his name, and just saying his plans for the football club. And I'm not a Bournemouth fan by any stretch of the imagination, but even I came out with that thinking, oh yeah, I can see why you did that, sir. Thank you for being so open. Let's go. LFG, kids.
I didn't catch this. What did he basically say? He just has a vision for the club and wants them to do well.
He's being ambitious by saying basically they want a new style of football. They want a more attractive name for players to come in and work under. They've got all the plans for. He was very realistic in saying Bournemouth don't need a new stadium. They maybe need 20,000 a push. I think he said the current stadium is more like 11 or something like that, maybe 15. I can't remember what Bournemouth stadium is. But he's saying we don't need to build a massive stadium. We want a new stadium, but not a massive one. The training ground needs updated, but that'll get built on some site that's already being used for something else. He just basically laid out his plan for the club over the next few years and basically said we want to try and get into Europe, and that's the end goal. That's what he was saying, over in America and stuff. He's been a builder of things over many years, and he's not coming to this stupid. It was not his decision to get rid of them, Gary O'Neill. It was the football people around him, and he was just going off what they were saying. So it was because of course over here in the UK we rarely hear any owners speak in the press. So to hear what B is kind of is that on national radio, I thought was a lovely step in the right direction.
No, fair play to him. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Up the William P. Foley. We go from the highlight of the week to the twat of the week. Who's your twat, Jack?
I've just gone for FIFA. FIFA in general. Like we said literally seconds ago, football never ends, and it's gonna get worse because we've had announcements that obviously UEFA Champions League's going to be expanded, more teams, more games. FIFA World Cup set to expand. It's now been announced that the FIFA Club World Cup will be expanded from 7 teams to 32 in December 2025 because seasons can never end. And my annoyance is threefold. For a start, there's too much football. As you and I know from our other hats that we wear in the wrestling world, when we have to, as much as we love our jobs and we're blessed to have them, you watch too much of it and you're just like, oh Christ, I just need to go home and read the paper. So yeah, too much football. It'll knacker the players as well. It'll cause far more injuries if you expand everything. Obviously, we're seeing players' careers get longevity because they're more protected. It's a less rough and ready on the field style of play. But if they're getting knackered and long-term muscle damage, then it's going to do a lot of damage. And the other thing is obviously it's clear as day every time that FIFA and UEFA and the other major sporting bodies, they only care about money.
Yep.
And Gianni Infantino very happy about all this because he's saying, oh, it'll grow the profile of the game. The cynic in me is thinking that this is FIFA stepping in and making their own form of Super League.
What competition was this again? Sorry, I've forgotten what you said at the start.
Club World Cup.
So the one where you won the Champions League and you go and play against other teams in December, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the point?
So they're doing it now because I read it on The Athletic this morning while on the toilet. I thought I'd pace night.
How was it? Let's have a rundown. How was it?
Yeah, perfectly cromulent. Yeah.
Sort of consistency we're talking about was a bit of a tough one, or you?
No, it was fine, yeah.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
Standard. But it's... I think the format was it will be the previous 4 winners of the Champions League. So that means that Chelsea, Madrid, and City have already booked their place into it. And then whoever wins the Champions League this season, cha-ching. And obviously there's representations from CONCACAF and, all the other, the same as it is now, but instead of it just being like I can't think of the other federations, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of it just being like, here's this season's best versus this season's best, it's the accumulation of the seasons, and it's just going to be in December, and they're saying that by putting it in December that it could lead to a break in September, end of September in October for the continental leagues. But for a fact that probably the FAs are going to step in and think, oh, let's have a friendly, international friendly to make more money, and it's just another mess, isn't it?
It's going to be the end of football because of the World Cup. I remember being very much on board with the concept of a Winter World Cup because I love winter pints and a nice warm pub, the crackling wood fire over there, your warm glass of cider at the bar. I was thinking, wow, all of that loveliness of a festive pint with the World Cup on as well. It's heaven. It's heaven, so it is. But now it's going to end football because we've seen it's possible to fit a massive tournament, a month-long tournament, in the middle of a season, and now FIFA and all the other governing bodies are going to try and just get it in there anyway now as part of the actual calendar.
Have you ever seen the film Basketball starring Trey Parker and Matt Stone?
Many years ago, but yeah.
Well, the premise behind it is they invent a new sport. It mixes basketball, baseball, and just swearing at people. But the prelude to it is that American sports has gotten too busy and too convoluted with naming rights and team switching cities and too much money and the pre-season and the post-preseason and the pre-post season and all this stuff that people are just getting sick of it and they want back to basic sport, and that's why this basketball takes off. And I'm getting vibes of that from this, that it's just going to get worse and worse, isn't it?
It's too much, isn't it? It's too much. But for my team of the week, my twat of the week, again, I wanted to put in Alex Turner and everyone apart from Matt Helders from the Arctic Monkeys after that abomination of a performance at the weekend there at Glastonbury. They half-arsed their old stuff, and I was not a fan. It sounded like a crap cover band from the 70s in Las Vegas in some... I can't even think of the word. I was going to say swanky, but I mean the opposite. Sleazy. Some sleazy nightclub with velveteen carpets and stuff like that. They sound like one of those tribute bands to their own stuff. It was awful. But since this is a football podcast, and I was struggling for a nomination this week, because again, it's been a quiet week in the world of football, Eni Aluko cropped up on my news feed because she believes that Manchester City do not actually want to sign Declan Rice, and their bid came after a plea from Mikel Arteta to pal Pep Guardiola. This is what she said about it. I think there's a lot of cat and mouse going on here. As a sporting director, I used to do this a lot. I used to call up a big club, and say, right, you can put a bid in, and that would basically force my owner to put in a higher bid. I don't think Manchester City actually want to sign Declan Rice. I think what's going on is Arteta has picked up the phone to Pep Guardiola and said, listen, Arsenal are going to do the incremental bid approach. If you put in a higher bid, that will push my owner. Then when asked why Arteta would try and trick, obviously, people, Lugo continued, for speed and to get the deal done. Now, any Lugo has had previous of having had shocking takes on the football, but this might just take the biscuit of what her takes have been on the football. Again, this was on her, I think was quotes taken from her stint on TalkSport on the radio this morning. So hopefully there was laced sarcasm on the actual audio. I haven't listened to the audio, so I've got to get that out there just in case she was having a laugh and a joke. But they've presented this news article on TalkSport's website as if this was an actual serious take. And I hope it's not, because nah.
It seems a bit convoluted and far-fetched. I can't see a world where it would happen, but I can't imagine Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola, especially, even though they're old mates and they've been in the same backroom staff and all that kind of stuff. I can't see two rivals, him saying, "Oh, do us a favour, Pep. I know you're like the most, competitive man in this league, but can you do us a favour with Declan?" No, I can't see it happening.
And why would Pep do it? Because now everyone in the world knows that Manchester City want to spend somewhere in the region, I don't know what it'll go for eventually, somewhere in the region of like 100 million for Declan Rice. So if they then just, put the bid in for the crack just to help Mikel Arteta, which makes no sense to begin with, they've now then said to the rest of the football, we've got this big bag of money to spend on players. So if they then offer any less to any player, that club can then come back and say, well, you had that money for Declan Rice, so we'll have that instead since you don't want him anymore. How does it work for anyone?
Like I can see it happening for like maybe less high profile players, but not like you were saying a £90 million England international. I can't to the teams that finished first and second in the league. Nah.
And again, from Manchester City's point of view, I think their operation's been, praised in the years gone by for getting the business done. Mm-hmm. It feels like when other football teams approach players that more gets leaked the earlier in the process, but with Manchester City, most of it gets done, then it gets leaked to the press. It feels like that's the way they do their business. That's egg on the face of everyone who works in their transfer department as well. I don't understand how any Lugo thinks is a good thing for anyone outside of Mikel Arteta. And maybe she hasn't thought that bit through.
Yeah, it's gonna make this transfer saga play out even longer, isn't it? I mean, some people love transfers, some hate them. I always get sucked into the transfer thing, but if you hate transfers and hearing this kind of bollocks, it's really gonna burn your wig out, isn't it?
I tell you what, though, transfer deadline day needs to pick itself up again, because it's been a fair few years now since we've had an exciting transfer window. Transfer deadline day, I should say. I might be wrong here, but it feels like ever since that dildo came out at Finch Farm, transfer deadline day has never been the same since.
Up the dildo.
Up the dildos, indeed.
Yeah, because we've had it on in the office the last couple of ones and nothing has happened at all. Where's Harry Redknapp in his car chatting bollocks? That's what I want.
Exactly. Even when he's not manager anymore, just get him in his car to chat absolute bollocks. Yes, but down with Alex Turner and everyone apart from Matt Helders and the Arctic Monkeys, and also down with Eni Aluko and her opinions on football. Because any time she appears on the telly on ITV stuff, she always says something that makes you go, what are you on about?
You're not a fan then, Ross? No?
Nah, she's like Tim Sherwood for me. She just says stuff for the crack. I guess that's what I do for a living as well. But I don't get paid as much as them, therefore it's more egregious in my opinion. Down with the Tim Sherwood as well.
As soon as you said Tim Sherwood, I'm just thinking of the time that he went into the training ground. Was it Tottenham, when he stood at Tottenham, and he had to kick the button to open the door, and he thought he was the absolute business doing it. Not bad.
I imagine Brendan Rodgers doing something similar. I've not seen what you're on about, but yeah.
100%. Yeah,
he does a little pirouette and everything, Brendan Rodgers, I bet. Anyway, on to the Roberto Mail Baggio we go. Hi, mate. By the way, if you want to get your...
We're going to have to, before we get to the Roberto Mail Baggio...
I thought we were doing it after the... No! I've put it before on my thing. Let's get excited, everybody, because it's the return of your favourite segment.
The segment we've only done once before.
No, your favourite segment. Everyone's favourite segment in the world ever.
Yeah, it's what happened to that Wunderkind, if we're going with the German.
Hang on, I need you to do that again. Cheers. I want to use the soundboard effectively, but it's not worked yet. Where are we? Just give me a second. Right, are you ready?
Count me in. Right.
Oh God, we had a little misfire there. Go on, just introduce the segment now.
It's what happened to that Wunderkind. So, a little peek to how the sausage is made. I've had this ready to go for a couple of weeks, but the way our conversations pan out and we get just lost in music, caught in a trap.
Yeah.
It's just been on the back burner. But this was one that was spurred on from the video you did the other week talking about the greatest club sides that you've seen. If anyone's asking, Ajax 1995 for me, going for the hipster choice, but I agree with you that that Barcelona side was incredible. Pep's Barcelona side, and one of the players in that side, Bojan.
It ended with Stoke City in my mind, and then he went absolutely nowhere, Jack Atkins, but I assure that you're going to put me right on that matter, aren't you?
Well, I forgot how much of a prodigy he was when he burst on the scene.
He was the next Messi, just as Messi was arriving on the big stage.
Well, that's what I was reading about him. Yeah, he came through Barcelona's legendary, La Masia training academy. He allegedly scored over 900 goals at youth level.
Bollocks.
That's what they say. he was the Pele of the youth league, apparently.
Who says this?
People from Barcelona.
Okay.
But he made his Barca debut at 17 years old in 2007. He broke Messi's youngest league debutant record. Scored 10 league goals and 31 appearances in his debut season. Was an unused sub a year later when they beat Man U in the Champions League final. And that was the season where they won everything. That was the season and the team in question, wasn't it? Yeah, amazing. But some quotes from himself. Bojan said that his rise to superstardom affected his mental health, and he suffered with anxiety because he suddenly went from this 900 goals child to being front and center at the new camp and being compared with Messi. So much so he declined his first cap for Spain when asked to join their Euro 2008 squad because he was just like, I can't handle this. I just need to.
You forget how early that was. Like 07, 08 season, he's doing stuff for Barcelona, leading into getting potentially picked for Spain for Euro 2008. I didn't realize it was that early.
Yeah, 17, 18 years old.
Oh.
But the Spanish papers, because tabloids, they threw him under the bus, so they span it as that he just flat out rejected to play for his country. So some of the people were just like, who does this kid think he is? Thinks he's too good for the Spanish team. But his record was, he was roughly 1-4 in all competitions, which for, a teenage forward is fantastic. But you got to remember he was competing for minutes against Messi, David Villa, and Pedro.
Yeah.
So he was sold to Roma at age 20 for just 12 million in 2010, which again seems very cheap.
Yeah.
At Roma, 37 appearances, 7 goals, all right return. Loaned to Milan after one season at Roma, 27 appearances, 3 goals.
Oh.
2013, he's back to Barca through a mandatory buyback at 13 million, and he was immediately loaned to Ajax for a season, helped Ajax win the Eredivisie, 5 goals in 32. And then, like you mentioned before, he stands for bloody Mark Hughes' Stoke in 2014. 23 years old, £1.8 million.
How does that work?
I don't know, but I remember at the time thinking, Jesus, that's a hell of a signing for Stoke.
Even though his goal return of the previous 2 seasons that you just read out there probably hints at 1.8 million being a fair figure. This is Bojan of Barcelona and AC Milan fame at one point.
Yeah, like we were saying before, roughly 1-4 for your backup striker at Barcelona as a teenager.
Yeah.
1.8 seems quite cheap. This time at Stoke took him time to adapt, but managed a nice vein of form. 5 goals between mid-November and mid-January in his first season. Then got a cruciate ligament rupture, which ruled him out for the rest of the season. Next season, 7 goals and 31 appearances, but lost his place in the side. And then managed 5 starts in the first 6 months of the 16-17 season before being loaned to Mainz. Then at Mainz, 1 in 11, but became only the 7th player to have scored in the top flight for Spain, England, Italy, and Germany,
Wow.
despite doing bugger all, it seems. So after Mainz, he was loaned to Alaves in the 2017-18 season. 13 league appearances, no goals. Back to Stoke in the Championship the next season, was a fan favourite, but wasn't fancied by Gary Rowett. So,
What season did you say it was? 17-18?
no, it would have been 18-19.
Stoke City, 18-19. Let's just have a look at their squad from that season and see who was fancied by Gary Warren. Gary Rowett, beg me pardon. Right, so let's have a look at some notable names who were probably centre for. Tom Ince was there, 36 appearances. Peter Etebo, Bennett Gafobi, Sam Vokesy from the Burnley days of the Sean Dyche. James McLean, I guess, is a winger who was also there. Mame Biram Diouf was still there, 6 appearances. Berahino was there, 16 appearances. Crouchy was there, 21 sub-appearances. Bojan was there, 12 sub-appearances in the league. Yeah. Try to look at other striking options. That's disappointing, that, when you get ousted by the likes of Peter Etebo. Let's see where Peter Etebo is now. I guess he's a midfielder more than a striker.
Yeah.
He's not even got a club anymore and he's 27. He just left Aris.
All right. And you just mentioned Tom Ince. He's just signed somewhere, hasn't he? For
Watford today.
Yeah, was it 50 grand or something? Or 25 grand?
He was at Reading and they're in sort of financial issues, aren't they, at the moment, so he went there. Bennett Gafobi, where's he at these days? He was an alright player back in the day, wasn't he?
Yeah,
where's Bennett Gafobi? He's at Hatta.
All right. How old is he now?
Where the hell's Hatta? It's in Dubai. He's 30 years old. You can see why he's got to Dubai. Vokesy. Where's Vokesy? I love Vokesy. Play Vokesy up top. He's at Wycombe Wanderers. Of course he is. What a fantastic fit in place. Not the Wycombe Wanderers.
I heard he runs the burger van before matches as well.
And Mame Biram Diouf. He is currently 35. I don't know who's that old. And he's just been at Konyaspor.
Okay.
In Turkey, I assume, just with the Aspor bit at the end.
Yeah.
I should check that out before I say that there. Of course they are. They're in Turkey. As are his previous players, his previous team called Hatayspor.
Oh, you learn something new every day.
You do. Sorry, back to Bojan.
Yeah, so after Gary Rowett got buggered off and Nathan Jones came in, couldn't nail down a consistent place, left Stoke by mutual consent at the end of the 18-19 season, aged just 27 years old. So a fall from grace. He then spent 2 seasons in the MLS with Montreal Impact, 2 seasons in the J League for Vissel Kobe, and announced his retirement in the new camp this March 2023.
Did he actually?
Yeah, because I'd seen this a few weeks ago and forgotten about it, and then after, like you said, you jogged my memory with that video of the great Barca team. I was like, oh crap, yeah, he apparently, I think he'd reached out to Barca saying, look, I'm going to retire. Can I just kind of come say my goodbye? And they were gracious enough to say, yeah, come on, you're one of our homegrown lads.
Mesque un club, as they like to say.
They do like to say that, yeah. That was very, very nice pronunciation, I'm sure.
Hey, I had Rafa Benitez as my manager for a few years. I know how to say club and squá in Spanish while speaking English.
What a lovely man Rafa Benitez is.
I know. He's back in football as well. That was in your things you sent me earlier on. He's gone to Celta Vigo.
Yeah. And
or is it Betis? Or is it Celta Vigo? I forgot the wrong team.
Celta Vigo.
Celta Vigo.
Yeah.
Up the Vigos.
And I think he's still got his house in Merseyside because his family love it here. So.
Well, that's the thing. When he left Newcastle, he was all like, "Oh, I want to be closer to home, this, that, and the other." And he's got further away every single time.
They must just fly him out in a private jet. It can't be good.
Apart from Everton, I forgot that egregious mistake there.
Yeah. But yeah, as for Bojan, I looked on Transfermarkt. We were saying before he did his cruise ship, but he missed 73 games throughout his career due to injury. 2 minor injuries for Barca, 47 days out for Milan, 60 days for Ajax, and then that rupture at Stoke saw him out for 181 days. And obviously, for a pacey young forward, his pace wasn't the same afterwards, and it knackered him.
It did.
Yeah, I forgot the impact he made when he burst onto the scene. It's like we were saying when we talk about Pato as well, the last wunderkind we looked at, of course, all those weeks ago. He was a revelation, and like you were saying, the comparisons couldn't have helped his mental health. People saying he's the next Messi, this lad, no pressure. But at least he seems happy now. Like I say, new camp gave him that send off, so up the Bojan.
Up the Bojan. He certainly left his mark on football, which is more than can be said for a lot of footballers who take up the game professionally. I don't know why I said that like that.
It sounded like a voiceover from Pro Evo.
I'm like an AI, aren't I? Just trying to put things together about football. I found a sound effect, by the way, just as well, just here. Football grunts and other sound effects. You want to listen to some football grunts now that we've had a bit of a somber time there with Bojan's career?
Yeah, I'll brace myself. Let's go.
I'll be surprised if this podcast stays monetized on YouTube now, but that was what happened to that Wunderkid.
A fitting end to the segment there.
What kind of football grunts? That must be the American football, surely. The wrong kind of football.
Yeah.
Your gridiron, that sort of stuff.
Gridiron. I like the name gridiron. Gridiron's cooler. Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it? Oh, yeah, let's go down the park for some gridiron.
Yeah. I'll smack you in the chops.
Aye. Ross at holdandgive.com is your place to send your Roberto mail baggios. We were struggling this week so much that I had to put it out on Instagram as well just to get the numbers up, but we managed it, so thank you very much for all your support in everything we do here at Hold and Give. Right, we start off this week's Roberto mail baggio with hi mates, a 30-yard screamer or individual Messi style dribble goal. Keep up the good work. Muzzy, is it? And I say Muzzy, is it? Like that because the email was signed off with Muzzy, is it? With a question mark at the end, as if it might be Muzzy, is it? But is it Muzzy, is it? I guess that's a game we could now play going forwards. Is it Muzzy, is it?
I'd love it if Muzzy, is it?
The 1990s was that long ago, he's forgotten who he was. Volley in the top corner against Spurs, but he doesn't remember those halcyon days.
I can't wait for Rule Fox to email in next week.
But back to Muzzy's question. A 30-yard screamer or individual Messi-style dribble goal?
Ooh, I don't know. My heart would usually say a screamer, but after looking at the goals of the season and them all being very similar outside the box strikers, I do like a dribble goal. I like a team goal, one of those ones where everyone touches it and it's just... Oh,
I'll tell you who scored a good one of those this week was the England under-21s in whatever tournament they're currently playing in. Emile Smith-Rowe. I forget who it was against the other day. They won 2-0. I forget who it was now. But they're playing some tiki-taka on the edge of the box. There's three of them getting involved, but it's one touch like for 3 or 4 passes, and he twats at the bottom corner. It's a delightful goal. Up the tiki-taka.
What about yourself? You're a boy of Shearer. You probably want a screamer, don't you?
Exactly, yeah. It's a screamer. But if I'm going to pick a particular kind of screamer, it's your Paul Scholes at Villa Park, the volley against Aston Villa, where it's a screamer from that far out, but it hits the underside of the bar, bounces back up into the roof of the net. That is the je ne sais quoi of your Thunder Bastards, we'll call them.
I read an article once about why it seems so much better when it goes in off the post or in off the bar, and apparently it's because the margin of error is so close. Yeah. Because we know that if that was an inch to the left or right, that wouldn't have gone in. Apparently that just wires something in our brains to go, oh, it's even better because I clipped it and went in. Yeah, wonderful.
We're all Albert Einstein and we don't know it.
Yeah, of course.
That's exactly how that works. Anyway, next up we have Dear Mr. and Mr. Hold and Mr. Give. Which one do you want to be?
I'll be Mr. Give. I'm a giving man.
I'll be the holder then. That made me think of Paul Gascoigne and Les Ferdinand in the dressing room for England in Euro 96. I don't know if you know this story, do you?
No.
I want to see Paul Gascoigne do like a live talk. 2015, I think it was, and he told this story of how all the England lads were getting changed, basically, and Gazza saw Les Ferdinand's willy, and Gazza said, Les, or where's the effect of, Les, that's so impressive, can I please have a hold? To which Les was like, oh, stop it, go away, I don't want you to do that to me, Paul Gascoigne. But Gascoigne insisted so much that finally Les Ferdinand gave in and let Paul Gascoigne hold his winky. So Paul Gascoigne held Les Ferdinand's winky, and then it might have been the Scotland game where he sent Colin Hendry to a different stadium and put it in. It might be that game, but it might not be. I forget the full story. So for future England games, when Gascoigne and Ferdinand were both in the squad, it got to the point that Gascoigne was insisting on it every time it happened, just because it was a superstitious thing at this point, that Les Ferdinand would just, without even being asked this anymore, would go to the door the team would head through to go to the tunnel and just drop his kecks and go, come on then, Gazza, have a little hold. So you've got to hold and give and do it at the right time. That's a new meaning for Les Ferdinand and Paul Gascoigne. But anyway, my question relates to bad football opinions. When I first watched Mahrez play in the FA Cup in a game for Leicester against Aston Villa, I confidently said to my mate that he was nothing special and he won't last in the Premier League. Safe to say he's done okay for himself since, and my mate never lets me forget my awful take to this day. What football opinions have made you turn out to be terrible in hindsight, and what is the biggest star you spotted for the very start of his career? Thanks for all the content and make me look forward for more to come as I lose the will to live with my reading ability. Thanks from Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
I forgot my glasses again. I'm struggling, and it's hay fever season. My eyes are so watery. It's unbelievable. I feel like Gaza at Euro 90 at the World Cup in 1990. For goodness sake, Ross. Anyway, right. So first and foremost, your worst football opinion. Has there been one that backfired spectacularly?
Yeah, and it couldn't get even more spectacular. The first time I saw Kaka, I thought he was crap.
Is that just because of his name?
No, I just thought, he's not very good, him. And he was quite good, wasn't he, Kaka?
Which game was it? Can you remember what game it was when you first saw
I can't
Kaka?
remember. I think it was... I can't even remember. I just remember, it was one of those that... Back in the day before, we were full-on internet boys, but you'd hear names and you'd hear rumblings and you'd read stuff in 414 and be like, I'm going to pay extra attention to this lad. And then I watched them and I just remember thinking, he's not all that. He's not that good. And then, obviously became, one of the best players of his generation, best player in the world at one point. Yeah, he was won everything. Yeah.
He has won everything, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm honest, this isn't me being an arsehole, but I'm really struggling to think of one where I've got it horribly wrong. There's no doubt there's one out there. I mean, I did a video about Harry Kane a couple of weeks ago that I had to take down because I got something so egregiously bad. You think you can just stand in front of a camera and just talk words and jazz will happen? I did that, and I was like, well, Spurs got all that money for Gareth Bale and didn't replace him with anyone. And then someone in the comments pulled my pants down because, they just signed Christian Eriksen and Lamella and people like that who got them to European final. I was just like, oh, bollocks, it's happened.
It took a while for Lamella to kick on, though, if memory serves me correctly. And as we all know, my memory is sharp as a tack.
Graham Sharp. Lee Sharp. But, yeah.
Sharp for you can.
Exactly.
There we go.
A sharp knife. Football opinions that I've got horribly wrong. I can't think of one. There must be several, but as I'm sat here right now on this day, I can't think of it, and it's not very good for this question. I could have just made one up, but I want to bring integrity to this podcast, so I'll tell you I can't think of one. But when I do in future, I'll let you know exactly what it is.
I can fill in for you. One of my mates, when Trent Alexander-Arnold first came through at Liverpool, couldn't stand him. He's like, he's rubbish, him. And, he's quite good at football as well.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's come round to it now. He's just like, I love a bit of Trent. But at first, couldn't stand him.
Why would he say that, though?
I don't know.
Because didn't he burst on the scene? Mika Richards style. But wasn't he pretty much... Yeah. When he first got on the team, it wasn't long before he was properly established as the right back, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was we still had Nathaniel Klein as right back, and I can't remember if Klein dropped in form or if he was injured or something.
Could you say a decline?
That's why you're paid the big bucks and working these 16-hour days, Ross. And I'm sat here on the toilet reading The Athletic in the morning. But yeah, he didn't fancy Trent at first and eventually came round. So there you go. Save your bacon.
Yep. And a star that you saw before most people realised they were a star?
I can't think of any.
Jamie Vardy for me.
Yeah?
Signed him on Football Manager before Leicester signed him because I saw the mootings in the press. It was a few weeks before of this £1 million player coming from the conference to the championship. Let's get him signed. And let me tell you, I told my friends at university what a player Jamie Vardy's going to be. And look what happened. So I'll take Jamie Vardy as a prime example of exactly what that question's asking for.
I realised recently that in my teen years, I wasn't as enamoured with football as I was, when I was a child, and I wasn't playing Champ Man. That's all I am. It's still Champ Man. It's not Footy Man. And I wasn't playing FIFA. I played FIFA for the first time since 1998 in, I think it was the 2011 season. I just wasn't a FIFA guy, and as a result, I don't have this. There's just a whole background of football that I'm missing, because as soon as I got to 13, 14, I was just like, right, football and wrestling, nah. I'm just like music and girls. That's my that's what I'm going after. And part of me's thinking I should have stuck with Footy Manager, but
it was. It almost cost me my degree, Football Manager. Like it's a vow I've kept up until this very day. But when I was sat there doing my 60,000 word dissertation in the space of 1 week, because by and large Football Manager and drinking had nearly ruined my degree, I said to myself, if I do this as well as working a full-time job, I had a part-time job writing, it was like football betting tips for this website I was getting paid money for. It was a wonderful gig to have, because I knew nothing about betting or football, so I was stealing a living. I've just vowed to myself, if I've got a full-time job and I'm playing Football Manager, I'm literally going to become the whale. From the film called The Whale. That'll be me. So I was like, I'll never play Football Manager again after graduating, and I've stuck to that. It's been very hard, but I've stuck to it. It's a career ender. It's Football Manager once you get into it good and proper.
Like, I love sitting down and watching it. I've got like memories of being a really young kid and watching my brother playing it and watching my cousin playing it, the old PlayStation versions of it. And then during lockdown, I was thinking, well, I might, download it and get involved, but I never did. But like you were saying about, nearly ruining your uni career, my mate in his first year of uni spent all of his grant on pills and kebabs. And then after that first year, he was just like, I need to knuckle down. And he's got a good living now, so he came out of it. So
fair enough. There you go then. Pills and kebabs. Up the pills and kebabs. And finally, our final question. I'm sorry, I've got in my mind that we had a question from somebody in the actual mailbag, and I've not put it on, but I'll put it on next week. Don't you worry about it. But we went to Instagram and found a question from Frank_K_Sutton, who said, who should West Ham sign to replace Declan Rice? And I think the answer is very, very simple. If I was David Sullivan or David Moyes or whoever's going to go to Manchester City with a transfer proposal, just say, we'll have your cut price at 80 million, but we'll have Calvin Phillips in return.
Yeah. It makes all the sense in the world. Again, he'll march into that West Ham side. I don't know, I was going to say regain form, but it's not like he'd lost form. It's that he just didn't play. Yeah. I don't think that there's a better answer than that, because obviously West Ham, they like the homegrown stars. They like having talismanic English players at the heart of the squad, don't they? So yeah, no brainer. Because
I was thinking of maybe like a relegated player that could go to West Ham, because it feels like West Ham would be in the market for the better relegated players. Obviously, James Ward-Prowse would be a fantastic sign, a different player to Declan Rice, but not too dissimilar, I don't think, in terms of getting around the pitch and legs and midfield and whatnot. I think Rice has got more, but James Ward-Prowse hasn't got none, if that makes sense. But then I remembered that Southampton won £55 million for James Ward-Prowse, and I'm thinking he's struggling to get anywhere for that sort of money, apart from Saudi Arabia.
I'm sure if they get the big bucks for Rice, where it looks like they will, I'm sure they could talk Southampton down. If they manage to get Phillips and Ward-Prowse, that'd be a really good window for them.
Yeah. There you go then. There's the answer. There's the answer, Frank. And West Ham, go and get Calvin Phillips and or James Ward-Prowse on the swap deal. We move on to the big question now as we end off this a bit longer of a Hold and Give football podcast.
Don't worry, I'm gonna claim this time back.
Don't be an arsehole. I'm trying my hardest. I'm all systems go at the minute. The big question, as you can see, is Declan Rice. Should he go to Arsenal or Manchester City? As we're sat here at 17:55 hours on Tuesday, the 27th of June, 2023. West Ham have rejected Manchester City's offer worth £90 million for Declan Rice. The Premier League champions formalised their interest in the 24-year-old with a bid on Monday night, comprised of £80 million in a guaranteed money and £10 million in achievable performances-related add-ons. City's bid was the same value as Arsenal's second offer for Rice, which was rejected by West Ham last week. The Gunners had offered £75 million up front and 15 in add-ons, but had proposed to structure the payments over a number of years. It's odd that Man City would offer the same thing, but slightly better. You get more of your money up front, but it's the same money when they've said no to that money in the first place. That's an odd stance to take.
Well, as we all know, it's just all cat and mouse games, isn't it, in the transfer
market?
It's
not even real, is it? Hey, all these football managers working together, making everyone else look bad for some reason. But if you were Declan Rice, Jack Atkins, let's give you a nice slick back haircut and a Cockney charm, a penchant for Rice. And yogurts.
He's the face from Muller Rice now, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So on a bus stop the other day, I went, yes.
So did I. It was fantastic. Like, yeah. He looked really happy to have that yogurt in his hand.
He really did.
Up the Muller corners. Big question. If you were him, would you go to Manchester City? Maybe not guarantee the starting place because of Pep Roulette and stuff like that. And look at Calvin Phillips maybe as an example of someone who's gone there and hasn't really set the world alight. Even though I think Declan Rice would be better because I think he is a step up from Calvin Phillips. Or would you go to Arsenal? Xhaka's leaving. You're the direct replacement for him. You could be captain material in a couple of years' time. I mean, it could be that at Manchester City, but it seems like a more foregone conclusion that he would be at Arsenal. Where are you going? What's your priorities?
Arsenal. He wouldn't have to move house. We're bringing that again. He can stay in London, lifestyle he's got and everything like that. Like you're saying, he's more guaranteed to be a vital cog in that Arsenal side. Not that he wouldn't at City, but like you say, you never know. Look how long it took for John Stones to really turn it around. It took him like a little while, didn't it? And he's probably, like you said, looked at Calvin Phillips and Arsenal all day. I think he'll, wherever he goes, he'll do really well because he's a very good footballer. But I think he could become an Arsenal legend if he progresses in what we've seen from him already.
Yeah, I think he could be the next Pep. Pep was sort of like Declan Rice, wasn't he? In his sort of like the nature way he played the game, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
But you look at it right now, I just think you're more guaranteed to do more with your career if you go to Arsenal. Obviously, the room is there in the Manchester City midfield. Obviously, they've signed Kovacic from Chelsea. They've got Calvin Phillips there. Rodri is not getting ousted for anybody in world football at the moment. I don't care who they sign. So that's one half of the midfield pair. Obviously, John Stones has been sort of starting there in games, so that's another issue you've got to put in there. Would they change that? Get rid of that tactic to sort of accommodate Declan Rice? Or is there a way to sort of fit John Stones and Rodri and Rice in the same midfield, which I don't see how there is?
No, it'd be too much tinkering, wouldn't it? And considering that City started shakily last season, I think after we were saying before that all they've got to achieve now is the Invincibles and the quad, I think they'll be looking to absolutely get everything watertight before a ball's been kicked.
Yeah, big time. So there we go. Arsenal over Manchester City. I think we're both in agreement there just because it feels like the safer option. Is it the less ambitious option?
I wouldn't say so.
Well, it depends what else Arsenal do, I think, as well, isn't it, with their transfer kitty this summer?
They've progressed, like I say, and they were odds on for the league for 11/12 of the season. Back in the Champions League. Yeah, I don't think it's a lack of ambition.
Could he potentially go to Man City after a stint at Arsenal?
Oh, yeah, like we were saying, he's 24. If he signed a 4 or 5 year deal and left at the end of it, he'd be 28, 29.
Oh, Kovacic age.
He could end up in Newcastle, you never know.
We never know. Not this summer. I think he's the Newcastle ship has sailed.
Not this summer, but saying if you sign for Arsenal and afterwards and you need a new presence in midfield.
Oh, when Tonali's getting on a bit. Who still hasn't been confirmed as a signing, by the way, but it looks like all roads are leaving there, even though he cried apparently when he learned of the deal. I don't want to go. Oh, there's money, is there? Oh, I'll go, fine. Apparently that's what
How
happens.
many bridges have they got? Oh, that's quite a few bridges.
Aye, but we'll end the podcast there. Thank you very much for listening once again. We'll be back next Wednesday at 8 p.m. on YouTube and a little bit later on your podcast feeds. What are you laughing at?
Oh, I thought you meant recording at 8 p.m. then.
No! Just to peel the curtain back, he normally finishes work at 4:30 and we had to start at 4:30 today. So thank you for your sacrifice for this hour and a half.
It's okay. I work so hard, as we all know.
You'll be getting sacked in the morning. I've been Ross Tweddell, joined by the freshly free agent that is Jack Atkins, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.